Hello and welcome to Reddit on Reddit, the internet's auditory version of Reddit. I'm Nelson Allingham, joined by Michael Camber Campbell.
What's going on, Nelson?
It's Easter, Camber.
It is. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Did you eat any eggs?
I did eat some eggs. Yes, that's true.
I didn't.
Good.
One of the benefits of living with you is you used to give me your eggs.
Well, Camber, lucky for you, I've got this. Hold on, let me just. This human-sized egg here.
Theater of the mind.
Yeah, that's right. Why don't you open it up?
Oh, okay. I'm opening it up now. Oh, what's this?
I have chocolate in my lungs.
Oh, that's not a bad thing.
Hi.
It's Bill from Escape This Podcast.
I've been shipped down from Sydney.
Yes, that's
via
right.
egg.
I'm really glad they remembered to poke holes in the in the egg for you. That's
that was from the inside out.
Oh, okay. You didn't. You had to do it yourself.
It was a harrowing moment.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show, Bill.
Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me on.
So listeners might remember that I have previously spoken about Escape This Podcast, which presumably, Bill, you've plugged our podcast many a time on your own, probably.
I have. Not on the show, but in general, I have quite a bit.
Okay, actually, that's true. You've liked social media things. You know what? I'll let you get away with that one. That's fine.
You went to be sassy, Nelson.
Into the Twitter world.
Yeah, that's right. You encouraged me to get onto it. So, Bill, why don't you maybe, for some of the listeners who don't know, who haven't heard me talk about your podcast, how about you give us the lowdown on what your podcast is about and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I run this podcast with my wife, and my wife is the actual real creative talent and brains and charisma of the show.
I know how she feels.
I'm the extra guy. But effectively, what we do is Danny, my wife, creates escape rooms. So I don't know if people have done escape rooms. You can go out and physically do them. You get locked in a room. You have to solve puzzles to escape. Yep. So Danny makes them, but they're sort of audio-only tabletop versions. It's sort of like playing an old text adventure game or a short D&D campaign with no dice rolls as people solve puzzles, explore the room, and try and escape. It goes really well. And actually, we're in the middle of a 10-episode arc where each of the rooms is interconnected by a big meta story. Yeah. And the episode coming out in 2 days, I think, on Wednesday, will be episode 5 starring Nelson.
Starring me. I've heard just like whispers along the grapevine that it's going to be your best episode yet. So.
To be honest, it's a very good episode. Actually, I really like it.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting all the editing wrapped up over this long weekend, and it's sounding really nice. It's really fun.
You didn't edit me out of most of it, did you? This episode's the best. Okay.
I got a question. Are you going to be okay? Because obviously your podcast, a lot of work, a lot of commitment, and a lot of editing. None of that on our end. Will you be okay with that?
Well, look, it's up to you because I'm used to being able to edit out all of my terrible jokes and bad opinions.
Oh, give it to us.
When I'm like, maybe I should have a father and a daughter just shoot each other for the right to go over the bridge. So I can cut that stuff out.
Yeah.
Make no mistake.
Who knows what terrible things I'll say?
Make no mistake, Bill. We could cut that out.
Yeah.
We just don't. I don't know.
It's about integrity.
No. It's just about effort.
Way too much effort. Oh dear God.
I do spend a lot of effort. I'm a very finicky editor. I get in, I cut out ums and ahs. I cut the first half of a sentence and then the second half of another sentence, and I piece them together to make one sentence that sounded better. I get really deep into it.
That's pretty good. That scares me though a little bit. I'm going to listen to this episode and be like, "That's not what I said."
just Nelson, just in the middle of it, just says, "And I think that all the people from South Africa should die."
Yeah. Well, that's what I did say, so I hope that you don't edit that.
But you bloody went on about it.
That's out.
Yeah, right. Okay. So it is such a cool idea because you initially plugged it, I think, on like a Facebook group, and I was like, "Wow, that's such a unique idea." Is this? Do you know if anybody else has created? Because as far as I know, and I think I've spoken to you this about before, nobody has done an audio escape room podcast before.
No, yeah. This is our oh my gosh, it's 2017. How did we do that original idea?
Yeah.
No one else had done it before. Like, there's plenty of tabletop role-playing podcasts, and there was kind of one other big escape room podcast, but it's sort of reviews and talking about the industry.
Right.
But no one had tried to take that sort of experience of an escape room and make it this type of an audio media.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well. And because of that, like, a lot of the escape room community came to support the show, which is really nice. And actually, we've just organised to go and attend a conference actually in the Netherlands. There's a big escape room conference that we're going to be at.
Yeah, wow,
so that's
awesome.
Very exciting. But yes, it's just been really good to be able to get into that community.
Are we we're like releasing the scoop here, aren't we? Our episode's technically going to come out before your next one. Oh,
that is true.
Inside scoop
That's
campaign. The first time ever.
Reddit exclusive.
Exclusive. So I don't know. You probably get flooded with people now.
And I just have one more question, and I suppose this will show perhaps the difference of your podcast to ours. Now, there is another escape room podcast you said kind of talks about escape rooms in the industry.
Yes.
Do you talk badly about them on your podcast? Because if any other Reddit podcast does come up, we like to trash talk.
Yeah.
No, actually, we had them on as guests for our 10th episode, and they had they interviewed us on their show.
Right.
And they also got us into the escape room sort of internet communities. They sort of ushered us in and said, "Oh, look at this new podcast, guys." So they were very helpful. They're lovely people.
Do you know what's crazy? We've never thought of doing that to another Reddit podcast.
Actually, when you mentioned my podcast existing, your plan was to invite me over and then kill me to steal my popularity. So
that's true.
I don't know if people would trust you.
Yeah.
And why would they?
Yeah. I mean, it's only fair.
Listen to one episode of the show, and we try and find a loophole in anything we can.
Yeah, that's right. Alrighty. Well, we should get into the episode, I guess. So for Reddit on Reddit, this first one. Now, Bill, we didn't discuss this earlier, but do you want to read it or should I read it? Because Bill got the post for this first one.
It's crazy.
Look, I'll give you the slightest introduction to it, and then you can read it.
Okay, good.
This may betray the fact that I do not have it in front of me.
Okay.
So I thought I'd delve into a slightly different subreddit to bring a post for the show. And this was on Change My View. I don't know if you've done ones from Change My View before.
We haven't on the show, no.
So it's a subreddit where people go on with a opinion that is usually controversial, and they say, Reddit, change my view on this. And if you change their view, they give you a little delta to say you've changed me, because that's a mathematical symbol denoting change.
Mm-hmm. Obviously.
And they and often they're terrible, and sometimes they're wonderful. And I've picked one that I think would be a good discussion for the show. So why don't you read it out?
Okay, I will. Can I say, I actually really, only just this week, before you sent me that one, I found the Change My View subreddit, and I was like, this is brilliant. I think in future I'm going to actually have a lot more of
It's a good one for the show.
Yeah,
and I will take all the credit.
Okay, you can, certainly. But yeah, some of them are so dumb, actually, because one of them was like something along the lines of, I saw it was like, gun lobbyists don't want to have the argument with children because it's hard to, like defame them and make them look bad because they're kids. It's like, well, yeah, nobody's going to change your view on that. Like, that's just a thing.
There's some change my views on there. Just like, I believe that murder is evil. Change my view.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty fair.
Exactly. Funny. Yeah. I would argue, I'd be like, well, I could kill you and then you could never be an idiot to anyone again.
Right.
And then maybe
that's
I'll change
not the question. I've prepared it. It took me years to find this question.
Again, okay. Nelson proving he is the villain of the show.
Yeah,
yes.
It happens all the time. All right. Okay, so this Change My View is by Assuage My Rage. assuage my rage. Bill, I'm kind of wishing that you had have taken this.
Assuage my rage.
Assuage my. Oh yeah, that sounds better. Okay. Change my view. All forms of entertainment, in brackets, movies, TV, video games, music, are becoming progressively worse.
Right.
It's a hot button topic.
Would you like to change his view, Cambo?
Okay,
Cambo,
sure.
what do you think?
Sure. No, it's not. I mean, there's that classic thing, right? When I went to the movies the other day, and there was the trailer playing for a movie called The Nut Job 2: Nutty by Nature. Right? And the person across from me was like, "Is it just me, or were movies better back when we were kids?" You know? Yeah. And I was like, "No, you just don't remember all the Nutty by Natures that came out back then. You remember the Toy Stories, you remember the Lion Kings. There's still good stuff happening. Yeah. You forget the crap that comes out."
Okay.
Yes. I think it's a mix, right? Because I think now there's a bigger ability to obtain movies and to obtain media, to obtain games.
Yeah.
We could right now make a game, and it would take a few hours. We could put it on Steam, right? It would be terrible.
Yeah. Well, speak for
and
yourself.
And it's that mixed with the fact that if something is terrible, nobody remembers it. So when you look back on the 40s, the only movies from the 40s are the classic movies. Because if they're not a classic movie, why would you be watching it?
Okay,
right?
so it's more like then that it's easier to create and distribute bad media.
Yes.
Yes, and when you're in the present, you can see the bad stuff. But any time in the past, it's not going to follow through to the future. No one's going to be going, "Oh, hey, remember this terrible song that we didn't enjoy? Or like this really boring song from 1982? Yeah, it was really kind of boring and dull." You wouldn't bring it up. So you cherry pick the good moments from the past, and in the present you have to deal with this deluge of crap.
I mean, I essentially look at like a one-hit wonder. There's a reason you only remember one of their songs. They had a whole album of other crap songs that you don't remember. No one remembers anything else the Baha Men ever released, but they know Who Let the Dogs Out.
Yeah. Well...
And I think now it's a better time for certain art forms.
Absolutely.
I think there's been no better time in history to be a poet.
Okay, that's true.
Because they just write songs now.
Yeah.
You consume more poetry now than you ever would have at any other period in human history.
Yeah, but it's normally about bitches and hoes.
Well, I don't know the kind of poetry that you consume.
Actually, I'm pretty sure Shakespeare was a bit smutty in his time, so probably not much has changed.
Okay. What were the chances that you would be able to see a Shakespeare play in the 1600s?
Yeah,
you were out dirt farming.
Well,
you had no time for Shakespeare plays.
No. I'm pretty sure I was one of the privileged people back in my time.
We in Shakespearean time, we would have been the people just sitting around one of the outside the Globe Theatre with two little kind of crates, just doing this show essentially. But like we're reading scrolls that were messages to the king or something.
Yeah.
This scroll is from.
Yeah. I think the king's an idiot. What are you thinking about that? Okay, but here's my counter argument to this is, there's a few things. For one, it spoke about movies and games as well, video games as well. And I know Cambo isn't quite as into this, but you'd know enough.
I know everything about games.
But
go on.
Gaming is a lot more about microtransactions now, right? That's actually something that is pretty new.
Yeah.
And I think gaming in general is a bit more tricky, right? Because it's progressed so quickly. So games essentially, they started out pretty shitty. Let's be honest. There's only so many hours of Pac-Man that you can play. Right. But then I think they progressively got better. And now I think, while I'm not saying that some games can't come out that are amazing, I think there's plenty that come out and just they're way more about making the quick buck, and it's literally built as in a way to psychologically manipulate you to make you spend more money and sort of tease you along.
I don't think that's any different to how it's ever been, right? I think a game on your phone now that tries to force you to spend more money as you play is exactly the same thing as ever having been to an arcade when you were a kid, right?
Yeah.
Where they deliberately designed difficulty curves and the placement of like health packs so that you will die more to spend more, but think you could do better next time, right? There was this entire mind game of how to make kids spend more money at arcades.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
And if you think of like, and the amount of, if you go back and look at like abandonware DOS games, right? You go back to a site and to download ROMs of old DOS games, you will find 9,000 Commander Keen clones, all hoping to cash in on this Keen dollar.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You'll find a million, everything. Duke Nukem was a Commander Keen clone, or the other way around. I can't remember my timeline.
Yeah.
None of this is new. You're just experiencing it now, but you can forget about it in the past.
Okay. Do you think now that it's easier to create and everyone's got Netflix or Stan or some kind of streaming service and YouTube is making stuff and anyone can upload to YouTube, that there is more content than ever? But just mathematically, that means there is now more worse stuff than ever. So then, theoretically, it is getting worse, but purely because of volume.
Just like a median worse.
Exactly.
We're bringing the median quality down. That I could see. I could understand that.
Yeah. But as ever, the cream will rise to the top.
Yes, right.
Okay, this brings me back to my other argument, right? Because I had to.
Just let you know, Bill, Nelson has his finger up, very lecture-like at the moment.
Just you listen to me, boy. Okay, how about the fact that in the past, right, let's say that you were a movie producer or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, hold on. Let me get into character.
Yeah, go.
All right.
Good movies.
How's this?
Bad.
Pretend that you've sexually harassed somebody.
Bill and I will play.
I don't like this character anymore.
Bill and I will play the role of old movie executive, and you use your example, and Bill and I will interpret it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think this is really going to work.
No. Continue your example. Well, this is good.
All right. So I'm going to say you get pitched plenty of ideas all the time, right?
Yep.
But you don't have the capital to fund crappy movies, right? So you've only got the ones that get to you are good, like source material,
sure,
right? That's
profitable source material.
That's the cream of the crop. And then, but now because there's so much more, and in fact things like YouTube, right? That you might get something that is really terrible, but it influences a market,
like a Logan Paul,
Paul.
Like a Jake Paul.
Yes, any of the Pauls.
So then...
Like the whole Paul clan.
So then, I feel like, I would say is like a while ago, I think you are picking against better written scripts.
Right.
But now you're sort of on this field of like, well, this isn't written well, but it will sell well because it's doing good on YouTube. This kind of like genre or this sort of thing is doing well.
Right.
Like the Emoji Movie. Not that did well, okay?
I mean, the problem is it didn't do terrible.
Yeah. It made money, and that's the problem. But you're kind of saying, well, like, this isn't a good film, but it will make money.
Right.
I think that's really prevalent. Whereas in the past, only potentially a good film would make money. Or it's like more of a risk.
Yeah.
Right?
See, I think you have a bit of a romanticized view of the Hollywood producer because for every producer that was like that, there was a million Roger Cormans that was about volume. They made as many as possible because it was like a tax write-off or they could get some kind of funding and they were making money off bad films that were flopping.
Exactly, or even bad films that were succeeding.
Yeah,
Again, there's so many movies that came out, but movies came out constantly, and they constantly remade the same movies because you couldn't watch them in any other way, so they'd release a new version. Yeah. But none of those last, right? You remember this idea of old Hollywood as a place that cared about movies that could really stand the test of time, because the only movies you remember from old Hollywood are the ones that stood the test of time.
Yeah, but
and all the ones that didn't, of which there was a huge amount, were all dumb. Do you know, was it? I think maybe it's Casablanca. We always the one that everyone loves is like the second make of that story, and there was one before and about 2 or 3 afterwards, and they don't care, but the one that we really like is the good. Like, this is just, it might not be Casablanca, but it's one of those classics, right? They just make them over and over again. Because that was the thing that you could do. It's like you do that with theatre. You'd put the same show on multiple times, so let's do it with movies as well. There's all this. Don't think anything has changed, right? I think this is the equivalent of, kids these days.
Bloody millennials.
Which happens constantly, right?
Yeah. Okay, no, but see, this is the thing is, though, that I think the question is it getting progressively worse? So while you're saying, yes, those people did exist back in the day, right? Who was your example?
Roger Corman.
Roger Corman, right? He was like one of a few. Yeah. But now it's like the top producers and the people that are doing everything now are influenced by this. Oh, you know what? That's right. Quantity is better than quality. So I'm saying there's just more people that are going over the quantity versus quality. So it is getting worse.
But is that not the point I made earlier about there's just more content, so more of it is bad?
Possibly you could argue there's a median drop. Why don't we put it? Let's put it to Twitter.
So then that is right.
Fans of Reddit on Reddit. If you think that art is good and is always going to be about the same amount of good because humans are humans and we make art in the same ways, tweet with a hashtag I'm correct, Bill is great. And if you agree with Nelson, put a hashtag I'm a dummy who agrees with Nelson. And we'll just see where the vote goes.
Okay, fine. I will get many a Twitter account.
and every time it'll come up and Nelson will be like, yes. Oh.
I'm a dummy. Okay, well...
I think we've succeeded in changing that man's mind.
I think so.
I'll take it by mail.
Okay. Well, I don't actually have another Reddit on Reddit.
Okay. Okay.
But let's get right back in.
Well, the thing I was going to ask is, Bill, considering you're new to the show, perhaps there are some subreddits that you could enlighten us on, like Change My View, that you suggest to people to get on.
Yeah, right. Well, if we're talking about just subreddits to enjoy, right, there are a few that aren't necessarily good for this show, right? I had this issue when I was thinking of something to bring, right? Like, you can go to r/puzzles and do puzzles. Yeah, you may know that I enjoy puzzles. I have a podcast built around them. Yeah. And they just constant posts of puzzles. And sometimes people get really finicky and weird about it.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's just a nice source of a couple of extra fun things like that.
It makes me, do you know what? Just my impression, without knowing anything about it, like the subreddit puzzles makes me think there's people that are way smarter than me. And they're just thinking up of these like super complex, like rocket science puzzles just to, like one up each other. And I'd be coming in there like, I don't know what's going on here. I feel like an idiot.
All right, then I'll get you to a better emotional state. You can go to r/I am very smart, which is just an entire subreddit devoted to finding examples where people on the internet try and sound very, very intelligent by putting as many thesaurus words as they possibly can. They start all of these posters like, well, given that I have an IQ of 197, I can understand why it didn't make sense to plebs like you. And it's that sort of stuff. That's always quite fun. And unless, again, any subreddit devoted to poking fun at people every now and then crosses the line to people being idiots to those people.
Yeah.
So you have to step back. Or facepalm is another good one, of just people getting things terribly wrong.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Which is always lovely.
I feel like I'd enjoy that, but then also be super frustrated at the same time.
Exactly, right? The one that could be really fun for the show, if you ever want to get too controversial, not that controversial, is anything on our relationships.
Oh.
It's always...
Okay.
They'll just pick up... You get an issue and it'll be like, me, 22, female, and my boyfriend, 57, male. I don't know if he will ever leave his wife, right? And,
okay.
and it's just this, or like, my sister said my baby was ugly, so I drove her car off a bridge.
What?
This context, and sometimes it's more benign than that, but you can find some real gems of weirdness there.
Okay.
And it's a lot of fun. It could be a good source of things for the show as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. That's pretty good. Do you know we've done, was this like 79 episodes, something like that? 78, 79? It's 79. And we've never like recommended a subreddit. But so I'm glad, Bill, that you could be on and do that.
What
for
have we
listeners.
been doing for 79 episodes?
I don't know. We do.
Do you know a really weird niche nothing of a subreddit that's great fun?
Okay. Yep.
Breathing information.
What?
It's just a subreddit devoted to GIFs from TV where the thing happening on screen lines up with like the graphic overlay. So there'll be a thing that appears on screen and then explodes away as part of an ad. But it's over footage of a baseball player who happened to be swinging his bat at the same time. So it looks like he smashed the animated thing out of the screen.
Okay.
And that's it, the entire subreddit. That sort of stuff.
And now, Nelson, I'm going to take the luxury of being face-to-face with you and correct you. We have recommended one subreddit.
Right.
If you remember, we did an interview with the admin of a subreddit called PM Me Your Tits Girl.
Yeah. Well, that was his name. He did have his own subreddit. Yeah.
So there you go. The one subreddit we've got behind is the smutty subreddit in which a man is asking for women to send them pictures of their breasts.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always r/Reddit on Reddit.
Yeah, we don't really recommend that one.
Yeah.
You can go there, but it's not really that interesting.
For a Reddit-based podcast, you don't have much going on your subreddit.
Do you know, to be perfectly honest, just the other day I was thinking about that. I was like, you know what? All I post is the episodes, and there's like no actual interesting content. There's no reason why you would go on there, except to ask us anything. So,
that's true.
So go on there, I guess, is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I recommend that subreddit.
Officially. It's right behind PM Me Your Tits Girl on our recommendations of subreddits from this show.
All right. I'm sick of all that. Let's get into Today I Learned.
Alrighty, let's do it.
So now it's time for Today I Learned. Let's play the intro to that. Today I Learned. This Today I Learned is by Jeremy's Hair Journey.
Okay.
And it was also submitted to me by friend of the show, Mitch.
Ah, cool.
Also. Which, keep it up, Mitch, because it means that I do less. Today I learned a group of undercover Detroit police posing as drug dealers tried to arrest another group of undercover police posing as drug buyers.
It's a snake eating its own tail, isn't it?
It's just the stupidest thing ever, I think. That I love the idea that they're perhaps like doing that sly conversation like, hey, have you bought the drugs?
Right.
As they're talking like a little bit into the microphone that they've got
into the
recorded.
lapel of their jacket.
Yeah, that's right.
What I hope is that there's always the cliche that undercover cops are really obviously cops. Because they don't really have... And I hope that both of them are like, hey, just hanging out at the drug den like I do. And the other guy's like, that's cool. I want to buy a drug from you.
I'll have one drug, please.
And they're both
You're in luck. I've got one drug.
They're both just going, oh my God, what's this lingo that they're
so hard to keep up.
I actually saw this posted somewhere else with that title and then underneath a picture from the... like 80s SpiderMan cartoon in which there were two Spider-Men both pointing at each other, really shocked.
That I've never seen that cartoon, but by
it's
God,
just the memes.
It's just a gold mine for anything that you want to talk about. Apparently, that cartoon did it.
Exactly. Now I wonder, like, if surely the most reasonable situation as to how this would occur is that you've got one group of kind of lightly undercover cops, you know, people who just go out to do the whole like, oh, we're just going to see if people want to buy drugs and then arrest them, right? And then the other group was like, we're 6 years deep into our gang connections, and in that case, you'd feel kind of good, right? Not just that you are convincingly a criminal, and that's very good, right? But also like that there are systems in place by which your identity is not being made readily known.
Yeah.
So it's not
true.
easy to find. Like, even people in your own police department aren't going to know.
Yeah.
So that you can be like, oh, good, no one's going to find out that I'm really a cop. This is you'd feel a little bit happy about that, surely.
Unless the problem was when it all, they sort of found out from each other, one guy just looked at the other one and was like, Bill? Is that you from The Office? Like, remember we had that conversation around the water cooler the other day. Oh. He's like, oh God, this is embarrassing.
I heard you were going undercover. Whatever happened with that?
Now you've turned to a life of crime, Bill?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you think there was that moment where the arresting officers were like, you're under arrest, and they're like, you idiots, we're police, undercover as well. The other ones were like, man, you're good. Oh my God.
Well, or I'm thinking that they're like, oh, we're undercover too. And they're like, oh, what a hilarious thing. Anyway, let's leave and go back to our own place. But really, one side of it was actually the criminals.
It's all off the books. You'll never see it, but we're definitely undercover.
Yeah.
We're so undercover that don't look it up.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. We obviously can't have our badge on us. That would be dumb. And then they've just had to run with this story because the cops that were the real cops went to bust them. Everybody came back and was like, hey, what happened? And they're like, oh, they were just other undercover cops. They're like, no, they weren't. We've been investigating them for years. They haven't done this. And they're like, oh, man, this is such an embarrassment. We can't let the media get a hold of this.
It's all big cover-up.
Okay, we love a good scam on this show. Idea. Next time, say you're pulled over by a police officer or something. Okay. Do you go, officer, come here. I'm undercover. You're kind of blowing it for me right now. I'm deep undercover. All my credentials have been wiped to help me out.
Yeah.
This is going to be real embarrassing if you bring me in. And they're like, oh, shit.
Yeah. I'm really drunk and driving right now because it's part of my undercover.
I'm trying to infiltrate a drunk driving room. This is my initiation.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, do you know, I do have a friend in the AFP, and she told me that the undercover cops are encouraged to do drugs and stuff. Well, not encouraged, but they say if you're offered drugs, just do them.
Yeah,
because it's the biggest thing to be like.
No, that's
found
illegal.
out about. Yeah, that's right. I don't do drugs.
Under Section 18 of the law, you can't be doing that.
Yeah. But then I thought that was really interesting because, she was saying that's how cops... Because I've heard of, cops before, undercover cops, being addicted to some drug.
Yeah.
And for some reason in my head, I didn't put two and two together.
Whether they ever took it in the first place.
That it was because I thought it would be some weird kind of stress about it. And
a coping mechanism.
Yeah, like a coping mechanism. And it is readily available to them in their undercover life. I just thought it was kind of they were just a mildly bad cop.
Right.
But then I was like, oh no, it makes sense.
They're a good cop.
They actually are trying to be better undercover, and you have to do drugs.
Yeah.
But
it's always interesting the extent to which in media the line is set as to how criminal an undercover cop can be. If you go by American movies, there's all these scenes where it's like, oh, I had to kill a guy for the mafia, I had to beat this guy for the mafia, and you kind of think, at what point, what level of criminality, right?
Yeah.
Does it get to before it's actually, we don't want you doing that as part, it's an interesting line. Steal $20, surely that's fine.
Yeah.
Right? If you're as part of this thing, there was $20 and I didn't take it to the lost and found before I claimed it 2 weeks later, right?
Yeah.
Just take the $20. I wonder where the line is, or if there is a line.
Do you think there's some kind of calculation they have of crimes committed by the person you're trying to take down
versus crimes
you're committing to do it? And there's a point where they're like, this is not worth it anymore.
Yeah.
Come out, you've crossed the line.
You've done way more crimes than this.
Well done. You've arrested this drug lord. He had 2 counts of selling drugs to minors and 1 count of homicide. Of course, to do that, you had 6 counts of selling drugs to minors to get his trust and 2 counts of homicide. So you're under arrest as well.
Yeah. We've gone into the negatives.
We're taking a loss on this one.
It's a net gain in crime.
Or I think it'd be funny if, the ultimate plan is you become this corrupt cop and you become this huge drug lord.
Right.
But you just keep going back to, no, it's fine. I've got him right where I want him. And
I've almost got him.
Yeah, that's right.
Also, here's a question. Surely there's cops that are making money being undercover doing these drugs that are keeping that money, right? I mean, you
I don't
shouldn't.
think they are.
No,
no. They might.
I'm saying you shouldn't. Obviously, the idea would be you would give it back to the government.
Oh,
but
yes,
there
I'm
must
sure
be.
some of them probably would.
Yeah. Well, I think
that's just people.
Yeah. That's
it's hard to be like, ooh, $100,000.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll just give this back to the chief.
Well, and this money's off the books.
Well,
yeah, $100,000, and nobody has any way of knowing how much there is.
I think it'd be funny if they're like, you always come back with exactly $100,000. Like sometimes I just think there'd be like $102,000.75 or something, but always 100. It's very strange.
And he kind of takes off his fancy new headphones. Like, what? Sorry, I wasn't singing. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Is that a new coat? It is.
Yeah.
I was just talking with someone who was talking about that as a way that scientists can find fabricated data. Is you look at the spread of their data, and if there aren't many numbers, if they don't have numbers that end like perfectly, like 3.000,
yeah,
that's if none of those are there, that's a good indication they made up the data.
Oh,
because no one's going to be like, I'm going to put down 3 exactly, right? Because that doesn't feel real. So people would put down 3.001, and if they don't have any things that are 000, it's like, okay, they probably made this data up.
Oh, right? That's really interesting, actually. Because
same thing with people in like statistics classes making up. This is one that Danny was telling me, making up like the results of heads and tails coin flips.
Right.
And you can tell whether they've recorded them or whether they've made them up. Because if they've recorded them, you'll get things like heads 8 times in a row. Or heads 12 times in a row, which happens naturally, but no one's ever going to do that when they're making it up.
Right. Yeah. So when people are making heads tail up, it's 2 actual 50-50 split.
Yes, exactly.
But
whereas
obviously in reality,
you get these stretches.
Yeah, in nature, there's like patterns that are occurring. So you would get, that's really interesting.
I would do that test, and I'd do them all heads or something.
I don't know how it happened.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I bought water
and they'd be like, that's too dumb to make up.
Yeah, exactly. No one would ever do that. That's idiotic.
I'm dumb, and I agree with Nelson.
Actually, to totally ruin a Jaron Brown special, nobody knows who Jaron Brown is. Look him up. He's really cool. He does the thing where he says, nothing is impossible, just improbable. And he says, I'm going to flip a coin and it's going to be heads 50 times in a row.
Yep.
And so he does this video. He said you can look it up online because it would be boring watching him do it in this TV special. And he does it 50 times in a row, and it's literally his point. He's saying it's just totally improbable, but it's possible that somebody could get heads 50 times in a row. And it's funny because it goes through a quick cut of him just trying to do it, and apparently
should we say how he did it first?
He flipped a coin into a bowl.
No, but I'm saying, so he managed to flip a coin 50 times and have it land heads every time. But I think what's important to your point is to tell people how he actually did that.
Which was he actually did it.
Yeah, Bill, what he did is he kept going. He kept flipping this coin until it happened.
Yeah.
So he flipped this
coin.
Did
I not say that?
No. You said he flipped
No, I got it. I think he was getting there. You interrupted Nelson saying that to say, Nelson, say this.
See what I have to deal with, Bill? God damn it.
Quickly, Nelson, before you tell us how he did it, can you just tell us
how he did it?
Yeah. Anyway, so that was sort of an interesting point for that I think it's really interesting.
Yeah,
statistics and stuff.
I really derailed that one.
Okay, so it turns out we've been going for a while, so we might skip the next Today I Learned because it's kind of boring. No, you know what? I'm gonna do it really quick.
Real quick. We'll just be shocked and then move on.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, this is by Dazed and Unconscious. Today I learned IKEA ran a print advert which you urinated on, and if you were pregnant, it gave you a 50% discount on a crib.
Huh.
That's ridiculous.
Well, yeah.
It is kind of ridiculous. That seems weird, and you may as well just give everybody a 50% discount. Because if they're not pregnant, they're not going to buy a crib anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, I know.
You're exactly
can I get
right.
the discount? No.
But it's that's a brilliant bit of marketing because it's so dumb that it gets talked about.
Yeah.
And then people are like, are they doing 50% of cribs? Oh.
Yeah.
And in 10 years, people are going like, advertising's terrible nowadays. Back 50 years ago, they used to do prints of where that you had to pee on. It was all advertising. It was all these urine ads.
Yeah, no one pees on magazines anymore.
Exactly. All right, that's it. We're done.
Okay, we're done. That's it. All right, let's move on to shower thoughts.
Shower thoughts, shower thoughts, shower thoughts, shower thoughts.
All right, this shower thought. We've never had 3 people in the shower before.
That's true. Yeah.
Do all of your listeners get that is the Decoré ads from the 90s?
We often, in the first couple episodes, we were scared that we would be sued.
Yeah.
By Decoré.
So we were not scared anymore. Fuck Decoré is what we say.
Oh God, don't say that.
We'll libel them. We don't care.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did mention it very, very early on that was what we had ripped off. But for newer listeners, perhaps not.
Yeah.
It's a reference to an Australian ad series in the 90s in which people washed their hair to a song that had the tune of Duke of Earl, but the words Decoré.
Oh, do you know what? I had no idea that it was the Duke of Earl.
Oh,
yes.
I think I'd heard it before.
Bill and I both knew it was the Duke of Earl. Hashtag I'm with Nelson, I'm a dummy.
Hashtag Nelson's dumb, I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But, okay, well, that's really good fact.
No wonder we're running late for time. I need to be quiet.
God, Bill, this is classic you.
Yeah.
That's why we're never on your podcast.
If this show is a mess, it's your fault and not ours. That's the only thing I can say.
These past 79 episodes have been your fault.
I mean, and we're not helping right now, if anything.
If there's one thing I always say, it's that the guest of the show definitely needs to control the pacing.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, here we go. This shower thought is by Real King of Earth. I feel like I should know him. The Ninja Turtles probably smelled terrible.
Yeah.
Do turtles smell bad though? I mean, like the sewer probably smells. Do turtles smell bad?
Turtles in general? I don't know.
Yeah, because obviously humans, the odor comes through their pores. Is that how it works? I don't know. But a turtle's programmed the same way biologically.
Well, I think regardless, they need water to clean it. I don't think they're like a cat where they just lick
and
themselves.
To be fair, they hang out with a rat all day as well.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. I never thought about it. It actually slightly ruined my opinion of the Ninja Turtles.
Do you think that's why people are so terrified when they come out? Not that they're turtles, but they just smell really bad.
God. Oh,
it's just like a mix of old rotten pizza that's caught under their shell.
Yeah.
Some sewer water, rat smell.
Yeah. I think somebody should do like a miniseries where they did Ninja Turtles just smell disgusting.
And I would suggest that April O'Neil also would smell bad because she spends a lot of time in the sewer with them.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
And
she's
what's
got
the
some
name of the
weird
other guy?
fetish.
Oh, Casey Jones. Casey Jones.
Yeah,
Casey Jones, yeah.
He smells the worst of all.
He looks like he would smell, though.
Dude, yeah, that's true.
He's definitely the Shaggy of the group.
Yeah. Did you, were you into Ninja Turtles when you were younger, Bill? Or now?
Yeah, I was. I feel like I didn't watch the show a huge amount. I did, right? But I played. It was one of those ones where when I was really young, I would go to my friend's house and his Super Nintendo had one of the side-scrolling Ninja Turtles games where you could play 2-player.
Yeah, right.
And I just played heaps of whichever Turtles it was, right?
Yeah.
It was great fun. The show is really good.
Was awesome.
I like the show, and I like that the weird history of the Ninja Turtles. That they're a spin-off of Daredevil.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. It's cool. And I only learned that not that long ago. Cambo told me, actually. Yeah. And I was like, wow, Cambo, you're full of great knowledge.
We'll never have anyone on that's more full of knowledge than you said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Eating my words.
I just think that's such an odd thing to be the start of such a cultural staple.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird that they're a cultural staple anyway, but I did like them. They are very fun.
There's kind of 2 tiers of the Ninja Turtles. There's the one that I would say everyone knows the most, the colorful bands and stuff like that. But when it did start, and it was the weird spin-off of Daredevil, it was really dark and satirical and quite violent and quite adult. And then it's the classic corporate America got a hold of this and was like, Ninja Turtles, we get it. And it became like the kids thing.
Yeah, it's the same as like The Mask, right?
Yes, exactly.
Where The Mask movie is a fairly, family-friendly, innocuous movie. Good movie, actually. I really like The Mask movie.
Yeah, it's good.
And then they had the TV series spin-off of that, which was even more fine. but it all came from a very like hyper-violent comic, in which the Stanley Ipkiss character wasn't even like the main guy for most of it. It was really about the mask going from place to place. Had a kind of a... It always reminds me of like the Heavy Metal movie, where it's kind of just little vignettes that are all very violent, but even more violent. And then none of that carried...
And the split with Ninja Turtles is even today, there's 2 Ninja Turtles comics going. One is the one that everyone kind of knows, the colorful, friendly one. But the original guys that made the Ninja Turtles are still writing their...
They're still going.
Black and white, IDW, violent adult Ninja Turtles comics.
Yeah. Oh, how cool. Yeah. I'm so surprised that they're allowed to.
I mean, they I guess they technically own it. And I'm sure they've made all the money they need anyway now.
Surprised they didn't sell it all over.
Yeah.
Do you know what I remember from my childhood in the Ninja Turtles? Is that the coolest toy in the world was the like Donatello van that just had, I don't know, stuff that like popped up out of it, and it was real. I never had it, but
I remember ads for it.
Yeah, exactly, and it was just like the coolest toy ever. It's like the only toy I really remember from my childhood, and I didn't even own it. I just like I'm pretty sure like one of my friends owned it or something. It was just like the coolest thing ever. Anyway, okay, I have another one here.
Let's go.
This is by H7007. Checking your phone when someone pulls out their phone is the yawn of our generation.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing used to be that yawns are contagious, right?
Yeah.
You see someone yawn, you're like,
I mean, I guess yawns are still the yawns of our generation.
All I think that is that everyone always wants to check their phone at all times, and that is just your excuse. Like, oh yeah, good, yeah, I'll check mine.
Yeah, you guys, yours out, okay, I'll pick mine up.
It's not rude. It's not rude when you're checking your phone.
Yeah, exactly. The first person to do it is rude. Everybody after that is fine.
But in your mind, all you're thinking, like subconsciously the whole time is like, fuck, I want to check my phone. I can't check my phone. Oh, he checked his phone. I can check my phone.
Yeah, that's it.
Is this why you're so checked out of the podcast?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just sitting there, just hand by your pocket, fingers tapping at your leg, like, I gotta get it.
Playing Angry Birds.
I'm like some kind of smack addict.
Okay, I have one more for Shower Thoughts. This is by Omar from The Wire 2.
Okay.
Kids today will never know that unique smell of Blockbuster, which was kind of like a mixture of candy and carpet.
Yeah.
Blockbuster did have a smell.
I know, right? As soon as they said that, I was like, oh my God. I just thought that was, just a unique thing to the Blockbuster I went to or the couple that I went to. I just love the idea this guy is probably, I don't know, in America or something.
Yeah.
And Blockbusters just have that exact same smell.
Yeah.
And it's...
So go on.
It's like that plastic. Like it's a mixture of the plastic of the cases those weird kind of soft plastic Blockbuster VHS cases.
Yeah.
Right, and they had like a little bit too much bend in them. They were white plastic. They had and they kind of popped open.
Yes. Right? Can you imagine having to explain to kids in the future this concept? We're like, a new film would come out and you had to go to a location and rent it. It was like $7 or $8 to rent it. And they're like, oh, but then, you just watch it over and over. No, you took it back the next day.
Yeah.
You had that thing for one night.
You could get a fine.
Nah, we're getting there. The kids will be like, what? There was a thing that you could own property? Someone owned it? What? It wasn't just, it didn't just disappear into the cloud the moment you closed your eyes?
Yeah.
Wow, Grandpa. Tell us more about the Dark Ages.
Actually, that's where we're going. That's where we're going.
What's walking?
I would love that if that's a thing. I'm so excited to not walk. I hope that happens. That walking just becomes such a weird thing.
You've
just explained WALL-E. Isn't that the concept behind WALL-E?
What, not walking?
Yes, that is. Yeah. That is all of WALL-E.
Oh,
just a bunch of people going, what's walking?
That's true. Okay. Right, that was it for Shower Thoughts, because we're going pretty late here. Bloody Bill. God, Bill, so annoying.
Next section.
All right, let's get into Ask Reddit. Ask Reddit. All right, this Ask Reddit.
It's my favorite of your theme songs.
It's because it's the shortest, obviously, not because of the content. Okay.
And calling them theme songs is very generous.
This is by Lucid Name, and I'm hoping that we haven't done one similar to this before. You have been accepted for an experiment. You must stay in a room with nothing but a bed, toilet, food, water, and no human contact for 1 month. If you succeed for the whole month without giving up, you get $5 million. Do you accept? What are your coping strategies to avoid mental breakdown?
Yes.
I also accept.
I know what Bill would do. Can I just say this?
Okay.
He'd
I
try
don't think you do. Hold on. I don't think you do. I'm going to tell you. Oh, look, I'm writing down. I'm writing in an envelope right now what I would do.
Okay.
What my response was going to be.
Yeah.
I don't think you know this about me. So I don't think you're going to get it.
This is
Fold
like
it, lick it, down.
This is
Go.
like a magician's trick.
What
Bill
do you
would
think?
Bill would try and escape the room. See what I did there? Because of your podcast, escape this part. It's like escape room. See what I...
That's true.
Yeah,
But no, you're wrong. You
Okay.
don't know me at all.
Okay, I don't know you at all. I mean, presumably there's just a door you can open.
Especially, and also, yeah, like escaping the room would forfeit the $5
Yeah,
million.
exactly.
This is like, you get a lot of people in escape rooms talking about, on forums talking about stuff like, oh, you know, I go into rooms and I brute force all the locks, so I guess what the combinations are going to be, and I like pick locks open and I try and do this. Like, you know that you can just leave, right? Like,
Yeah.
the door's never really locked. You can just go.
Yeah, like the fun of it is the puzzles that you figure out, not the actual escaping.
Don't do it.
I like the idea that that you do plot your escape, Bill, and you spend weeks kind of planning this, and you finally you get out and you walk up to them and go, "Ha, I'm out of your room," and they're like, "Yeah, that was always an option."
Yeah. You were one day away from winning the $5 million.
Would you like to leave?
Yeah.
When we brought the water, we said, "Here's the water. Are you sure you want to stay? You can go." And I'm there plotting, like, he turns up at 10 a.m. and then he goes, and the guard changes at 12 p.m.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so Bill, walk us through then. What would you do?
Okay. The thing that is not part of my sort of public persona,
Okay.
in terms of podcast, is that I've done traditional Japanese martial arts for the past 12 years.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I've always got the capacity. I need a month. It's like, I got technique to work on. I'm just gonna do these drills in this tiny enclosed space for a month. Like, I've got stuff to work on. I've got things I need to get better at.
Yeah,
I'm going to exercise. I'm going to stretch more because I need to stretch more. And I got this technique, and I don't know how to do this movement. And I reckon I could get that kick a little bit better, and I'll just do that for a month. Because I don't need any. That's because you can't do anything else, right? Like, I could do puzzles, but it's hard to kind of come up with, and you want to be able to draw them out and write them down and get new puzzles. Making puzzles for yourself is kind of hard.
Yeah, that's right.
Although, if anybody wants a fun puzzle to do by themselves, if you need help sleeping, especially.
Okay.
What you do is you pick one number.
Yeah.
You do and get 4 of them together, right? So if you pick the number 4, right?
Yeah.
You have to use 4 4s.
Yeah.
To make every other integer from 1 upwards, and you just try and work out the solutions.
Wait, what? This is way too smart for me, I think.
So, for example, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to get to 1 with 4 4s,
Yeah.
you do 4 divided by 4, right? So we're at 1.
Okay, yeah.
Plus 4 minus 4, still at 1.
Oh,
You want to get
I
2.
see how.
Right?
Yeah,
4
okay.
divided by 4 plus 4 divided by 4, you get to 2, and you just work these out, and it's quite fun.
Yeah. I'm going to use 1, I think.
Yeah, Bill. This podcast.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
This podcast is a slog that you and I have to keep explaining these things to Nelson.
Oh God, see,
Sorry.
I'm so
But there you go.
embarrassed.
Those are 2 things I do.
Okay.
I would do martial arts, and I'd count up by using.
Can I tell you what I love? Last week I was called the dunce of the show.
Yeah.
I love having you on so much.
Oh, next weekend, but you're going straight back to the dunce. Okay?
Yeah, but right now I'm riding high.
No, actually, you're still the dunce. Like,
I
there's
know,
only
but-
one
but
dunce.
You're not the smart guy. Is what I'm saying. You've at least been knocked down.
I don't think I've ever been the smart guy, to be fair. I think that just last week you stumbled a few words, and I jumped on that as an excuse to not look like the idiot. Okay, Gina, I was sort of thinking something like that, but my problem is a month is a really long time. Because I considered, okay, I'd just
go crazy. Actually go crazy.
Yeah, like I just try to work out a little bit. Be really buff by the time I left. But goddamn, an entire month stuck in one room with nothing else. Like, man, that is such a hard feat.
Okay, so this is obviously exactly like solitary confinement, right?
Yeah.
I mean, being confined by yourself?
Yes.
Kind of similar.
Yeah.
But as in the common concept.
What a dunce, am I right, Bill?
The common concept in a lot of prisons, they have their solitary confinement cells.
That's pretty much what we're describing here.
So, but my point is, because you're not imprisoned necessarily, but if you're committed and you want that $5 million, just commit a crime that would get you in solitary confinement.
Then you've got no choice. You can't be weak.
You can't be weak, but also you get to commit a crime as well. So that's a freebie.
Okay. You could kill someone.
You have the fun of committing that crime.
Normally I'm the villain.
Yeah, you have the fun of committing that crime. And then you just go and do the thing you were going to do anyway, and you're $5 million up.
Okay. I mean, but you don't normally get straight into solitary confinement. You have to commit a crime, go through the law process, go to court.
What? Did I say it was easy, Nelson? Oh my God!
Like you're sort of putting yourself like it's meant to be a month challenge. You put yourself through like a 3-year challenge of like.
Well, see, the court case will be very quick because he'll just be like, "Yeah, I did it. Oh, I did it, and I'm a danger to other people."
Okay. But then you have to.
That was me, 100% guilty. Big danger.
I get, but then you have to go to prison, presumably pick a fight with a guy. Is that what?
No, but if you can prove that you're a danger to others in court.
Okay.
So Bill is trying to...
So you have to do something pretty horrendous. It's like you have to cut people up into tiny pieces.
And you're like, I'll do it again for the next 30 days.
Enough of a danger that you will be put in solitary confinement, but also committing a crime that only gets you a month in prison.
Yeah, that's right.
So what my point is if you can think of that crime, write it.
Okay.
Tell us what that crime is.
What about just like whipping people with towels at random? Man, that's annoying. They'd lock you up for that. Just put it in
with the hashtag I'm a criminal and I agree with Canberra.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good. Finally, I'm not the villain anymore. Okay.
Just wait. We got some time left.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Let's move on again because we're still, I think, running pretty.
Yeah, we're just under an hour.
Okay, all right. Yeah, well, let's move on, shall we? So now we've got the question to making you like us.
Yep.
And I think it'll be easier if I get Bill to explain this section.
Yeah. Okay, Bill, it's over to you.
Okay, so the way this works is the two boys here were sort of love-starved, and so they decided to find some attractive listeners. They would do a series of questions that made you love them. Not realizing they would fall in love themselves during the process. Now, that's not where they wanted to be in their lives at the moment. So they decided to take a step back, and they've now introduced questions that are only meant to make you friends, hoping it'll just peel back that relationship and they can go back to where they all started from. And they're now X number of questions in to their list of questions that will make them friends. They're not quite happy with the questions so far. No. They think they're a little bit silly. But they're pushing forward. And today's question is...
tell your partner the funniest thing that ever happened to you when you were with a small child. When you were... oh, my God. When you were a small child. I think I added the with.
Okay,
by accident.
Wow.
When you were a small child, not with a small child.
All right, okay.
I mean, unless you have a hilarious story when you were with a small child. Like I have nieces, she does some funny stuff. She pooed her pants today. That was pretty funny. But great intro, just by the way.
Yes.
Bill. We've been doing this for a while, and you kind of nailed it in one go, which sort of really...
It's annoying, if anything.
It's annoying, yeah. If you could at least have just pretended to stutter over that would have been appreciated.
Yeah, not a single stutter.
Yeah.
I stuttered just then, trying to say that sentence.
I'm nervous because I'm not being edited. I have to be.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, man, we should probably have the same mentality, I guess.
Nah.
Okay, so...
It's about integrity.
Okay, the funniest thing that happened as a child. Do you have one, Nelson?
No, I don't have one at all.
Well, this is
You were the only person with time to prepare.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I still don't prepare for it. I literally wrote the question down when we had already called you.
Oh, yes. Know this, Bill, and dear listener. As much flack as I get for not preparing for this show, there's not much time for me to prepare for the show because Nelson's like, all right, I got the notes, let's go, and we hit record.
Yeah. I mean, The thing is, you still could take time to read the notes for like an extra 30 seconds.
No. It's a protest.
Yeah.
Until you get your act together.
Exactly.
He'll never read those notes.
Sometimes I do prepare them a little bit earlier, or I have saved ones, right? So I then put the saved ones in the email. But I purposefully don't put them in the email first because I don't want Cambo to read them.
Right, so, funniest thing that happened as a child, I can't think of one specific, but I can remember a joke that I used to think was really funny, but it was my dad's favorite joke to play on us as kids.
Okay.
Which was to pretend that he had hit something with his car. He would exit the car long enough that you in the car would be like, what's going on here? And you would get out to check what's going on. And the moment your door closed, his door would then open and close and he would drive off. And he used to think it was hilarious. The further away from home you were, the funnier he found it. To leave you by the side of the road. But presumably this is like a 35 to 40-year-old man at the time, squatting next to his car, being like, can't wait till this kid gets out. I'm going to drive off on them.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
I don't think he loved you, Cambo.
No. He doesn't answer my calls anymore, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. He'd just like drive to the pub, pick you up 5 hours later, drunk.
Hey, how'd you get home?
Yeah. I didn't know. The only one that I can think of, but this is not a very good an anecdote, because all I remember is I don't remember why I was laughing, but I was with my friend. And we were meant to be doing like some school assignment in primary school. And I was just pissing myself laughing on the ground. And I think the idea was that there was no joke. Nothing funny actually happened. But then it was funny that I was laughing so hard. And then I remember like I have this image of him in my head looking at me just like, oh my God, I think like something's actually wrong with you. But I don't know. It was the funniest moment in my life. I just can't remember what it was specifically.
The funniest moment of your life was that there was no joke.
There was no joke.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I
poignant.
get the podcast now.
It's poignant. Yeah.
That was mean. I've had this terrible moment, right, where like it's very telling and sad. Where like, hey, remember something funny from your childhood? I'm like, oh, that's a sad memory. Oh, that's an awkward memory. I felt like a real idiot then. That was a bad one.
Just as a quick aside, Bill, don't ever feel you looked like you sounded a bit guilty and went, oh, that was mean. Literally, our biggest fan once made a bunch of billboards that insulted us and emailed them in. So don't worry about insulting.
So I was trying to think of like fun stories as a child, and I've got there's all these silly things, right, that like stick with you as a kid, but one of the things that I really like, and this is just it's not necessarily funny, but it's just this thing I remember that happened a few times, and I just loved it, and it's a story I tell a few times, which is I used to be in choir when I was in school, right? I sang in the school choir.
Yeah.
And at one point, I was in year 7, maybe year 8, whatever, and the head of there was the guy who was the head of music, right? The student who was the kind of captain of music. And I went to a private school.
Fancy.
You surprised me.
He was the music captain, and so he was kind of like the head of the choir. And I remember he used to go around when he had free periods, because he was in year 12, so he had some periods where he didn't have to do anything, right? He had a free like study time, which no one studies in.
Yeah.
And he used to walk around, and he'd went just doing stuff, and he went past our science classroom, and he looked in, he saw that I was in there, and apparently he'd done this for a few other students. And he knocked on the door, and he leans his head and he says, "Oh, sorry, sir. Can I just see some of the choir boys here? There's a choir thing that needs to get discussed." And he points to me, and I think someone else who was in the class. And we get up and we walk out thinking, what could this possibly be? Because it's a choir issue.
Yeah.
And we get out, and he closes the door, and he goes, "Oh well, there you go. See you later." She's like, "I got you out of class. Go do whatever you want. Go get a drink. Go get some food." Take a break and then head back whenever you need to.
Man, what a good friend.
Yeah,
which is a lovely thing. I think it's wonderful. And he just did it occasionally, and he do it just because whenever he was on a free period and he saw choir people in classes, he'd sort of bring them out and be like, "There you go.
Do you know
have a free period."
Do you know this is why I've realized I'm the villain of the show right now, is because what I would have done is I just need to see some people, and then they come out of class, and then I'd just fart and walk away. That would be my joke.
It's just a small detail different, but a very important one.
Okay.
There you go. I hope that made the listener like us just a little more.
Yeah.
But now I'll tell you stories of the funniest moment when you were with a child, with a small child.
I legally cannot.
Yeah. Alrighty. So now you can get into Ask Me Anything, where listeners of the show, just like you, listener, can write in and ask us anything you want. And this week we've got
What are you trying to say now?
we've got one, maybe two, depending on how long one takes.
Okay, right.
Sure. This first one is I'm going to do it because you took Amanda's last week's from Amanda. She said, "Hi guys, so it turns out you made another podcast while I was away. It's as if you make a new one every week."
Very astute.
She's catching on. Now for the awkward bit where I fact check you. It's against the show rules. Which I know is against the show rules, that's what she says. But I'm such a rebel. It's just that really, guys, you're glad Neil Armstrong is alive and well? Well, I would be too, except that he's dead. I mean, not that he died on the moon or anything. He was 82, but he had been dead for 6 years. What an awesome guy there.
All right, I'll get my dunce hat.
I don't know if did we say like that he was still. I think we were just glad that he didn't die on the moon.
Yeah, I don't remember. Nelson, I don't remember anything about this podcast the moment we hit stop.
True. You know what?
So I assume she's correct.
Yeah, that's true. And do you know what? Something else she pointed out, which I wanted to give you credit for.
Okay.
Because she also said that Colin, what's his name?
Michael Collins.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
He was in orbit around the moon.
Right.
Because I said I thought he went back earlier.
Right.
But that wasn't
true.
true.
He was in orbit while they went down in the lander.
Yes, I'm not crazy. Yes!
Yeah.
Yes, fuck you, Nelson! You wear the dunce hat!
It's the first time ever. No, but she was saying the reason why he probably wasn't in that letter was because they'd probably already done the maths for him to get back.
Right.
Which is so brilliant and genius.
You'd be
a
little
were
bit
just
cocky.
so confident that he's going to come back because
you'd
we've
be a
done
little
the
bit
maths.
cocky in the cockpit being like, well, I'm coming back.
yeah, that's right.
I know that for sure, boys.
Don't know about you guys. I reckon.
Presumably the issue was getting the lander back up into orbit. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or no, they wouldn't. Did they leave the lander there? I don't know.
No, they had to go back up. She actually, in her email, she actually explained there's 3 difficult steps that had to happen perfectly.
By the way, Nelson, you haven't got to the question.
Anyway, okay, anyway, you know what? The moon landing's interesting, turns out. Okay.
I mean, moon landing's fake anyway, so.
And that's true. Okay, now about that bread buttering question. I
was wondering if that was going to happen.
When you're putting peanut butter on your bread or toast, do you also put butter on first? I'm going to leave it at that, and then I'll tell you what she says.
It depends what mood strikes me, Nelson.
Oh, okay.
If I want something a bit more I did it a lot as a kid.
Right.
Because it's I don't know, it's a bit creamier with the butter as well.
Yeah, creamier, yeah.
Yeah. But if I'm trying to be an adult, being I don't need a creamy, sweet treat.
I'm a big boy.
I'm going to have my bloody peanut butter like a man. Then I don't.
Okay.
But I'm all right.
Sitting on the fence again, Cambo. Bill.
I don't eat peanut butter. Never liked peanut butter. Never make peanut butter sandwiches. Right?
Wait.
So let's ignore the peanut butter aspect.
Okay. Jam.
Because
jam
it's a dumb spread for losers.
You're it. You know what? Use the hashtag Bill is an idiot because he doesn't like peanut butter.
Or if that's too long, just Bill is an idiot.
We should get into a Twitter fight with me.
BIAI.
But let's go over to the superior spread and we'll talk Vegemite for a second here.
Right. Okay. Good.
So obviously Vegemite. You need to butter things before you put Vegemite on them because otherwise you're insane.
Yeah.
But Vegemite can only go on toast, right? This is my right. The worst thing ever is when you used to get. Especially as a kid, I don't know if is when I had this, or you get Vegemite on sarkatars or something. Not sarkatars, saladas, right? The sort of biscuits with holes in them.
Yeah,
things like that. whenever you could see like Vegemite and butter, like there was a clear like here's the butter, here's the Vegemite, it's yellow and it's that was horrendous. I just like hated it. I don't know why.
No,
I've just developed this aversion. So for me, it has to be like all the butter goes on, the butter is all melted. We're done with the buttering step. Cool.
No.
Now the Vegemite goes on, and there's no unmelted butter.
You run the risk of a cold toast.
You're wrong.
It doesn't take that long to melt butter on toast. I'm not sitting there going, I'll come back in 20 minutes. It's not a long process.
He's probably got some kind of butter. He's probably got some kind of fancy private school butter that melts so quickly.
Well, don't tell anyone, but yeah.
Nobody tells anybody in the public schools about that. Okay, so no, I think you can definitely put them on like salada biscuits. That's because you put it in one mouthful. I feel, right. So it's still like the combined taste of both. It's not
Your opinion makes perfect sense. Yeah. It's just wrong.
Okay.
You're just wrong. I can't help you. Like. I understand what you're saying. You're completely correct, but you're wrong.
Bill, I've kind of had enough of you on this podcast, to be
honest.
Well,
I tell you what, boys. It looks like there's a bloody spread of opinions about it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You know what, Bill? You're fine to stay. I need somebody to balance out Cambo's bad spreading jokes.
And I'm always there to butter you up.
Hey.
Okay. Anyway, my answer is no, never butter with peanut butter because it's peanut butter. It's peanut butter. Okay. It already is buttery. It's not necessary to butter your peanut butter bread.
Right.
Do I need to ask the question?
Well, yeah.
Smooth or crunchy?
Crunchy. Cambo's smooth.
I'm a smooth guy.
They're like the odd couple.
Oh, here we are. But I think that smooth peanut butter doesn't taste I don't know, it doesn't taste like nutty. It doesn't taste like peanuts to me. Okay. And so then that's why I like peanut.
Right. You like the
crunchy one.
All right, but crunchy doesn't taste like butter to me. Wait. See, we've honed on different aspects.
Neither of them
I like the smooth butteriness of the peanut. Like it's
ironic. The one who likes this peanut butter that's most like butter also adds butter.
Sometimes.
He's just a butter fiend.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right. And you're right, the odd couple dynamic, the crunchy, smooth. Nelson's a racist, I'm not. It's
it's pretty
one's a dunce, one's a villain.
Yeah, Cambo diddles kids. I don't. So many things. Okay. Anyway, Amanda said, my answer is, of course, what are you, a barbarian? So she sides with you, Cambo.
She does.
And she hates you, Bill, for not ever eating peanut butter. I don't know why. She wrote that on the end of this email. It's so strange.
If you're a barbarian like Nelson, tweet #IRollD12s and I'm with Nelson.
What? Okay.
That's my D&D reference for you.
That was pretty good.
Oh, Bill, I got it. Don't worry
I got it.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Okay. Well, that's about it for the show, I'd say.
Why can't you just kind of end it? Like, yeah, anyway, that's fucking, we're done.
I mean, I think that's how all good podcasts end.
Bill.
Not with a bang, but with a whimper.
Bill, where can people find you and your podcast?
Okay, so the podcast is called Escape This Podcast. So you can go to escapethispodcast.com.
Yep.
We're also we're on every single service except we're not on Spotify yet.
Oh, what a sucky podcast!
Where's your bloody private school now?
and we're not on Google Play either because they hate Australia.
Oh right, I didn't know that was a thing. I guess we're not on it.
They won't. They don't do it. Okay. We are okay. Now here's where I do my my failed social media presence. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter as @EskThisPodcast.
Yep.
But we're at our email address is escapethispod@gmail.com.
Right.
We cut off different sides of the word for some reason.
It's so confusing, Bill. Reddit podcast is so easy and you don't need to explain how to spell it at all.
Right. So we've got your website. You're on all the different podcast services except for Spotify and Google Play. Don't worry about those. You don't want them anyway. That's what I heard.
Yeah, for losers.
Yep. You're on the Facebook. You're on the Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, Instagram. I've just set up an Instagram. I think it's also Esk This Podcast. And I'm starting to put some of the photos that I've had on Facebook and Twitter before. A lot of the room notes and Danny does these sort of interstitial art pieces where she does fan art of her own show. It's great.
You've missed an opportunity because obviously you're Ask This Podcast, but then also you're Escape This Pod on Instagram. You should have cut out the middle on Instagram.
Yeah, Escape the Podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty. And dear listeners, especially listen to this week's episode coming out on Wednesdays. All right.
Yes, Children of Mysaris, Chapter 5. I don't have a title for the episode yet. It'll be silly. With Nelson, and as a teaser, he is playing an 8-year-old girl.
Yeah, the part I was born to play.
That was the funniest thing that I've ever done with a young child.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, and you can obviously find us on Facebook and Twitter and Gmail at Reddit Podcast, READIT Podcast. And that's it.
We've got a subreddit that we recommend.
The subreddit. Oh, that subreddit. Boy, it's got so much good content.
I got a question for you, the listener. What are you doing right now? Why don't you bloody subscribe? That's what I say.
Yeah, subscribe. Rate us. Rate us a lot of stars.
I mean, up to 5.
Up to 5. And then get another count and rate us again. If you really like us.
Yeah.
It's like rating us 10.
Yeah.
Only true fans.
Exactly. All right. That's it for another episode.
Thank you for joining us, Bill. Thank you, Sam,
Thanks, Bill.
for being our sound engineer this episode. Make some noise, Sam. Yeah, he's ruined the mix.
Yeah, we'll edit that out. I mean, I hate editing, but I'll edit that bit out, definitely. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we will read you later.